Hello and welcome to the news at 7, where we get to the heart of the day's stories and communities across Scotland. Tonight, how rubbish trucks could be heading to landfill sites in England.
So if the ban comes in at the end of the year, that material will either need to be exported or it'll need to go south of the border.
We'll speak to an environmental group about that. Also tonight, how some children in care are struggling to get access to the right to education.
I was quite anxious going into school just because of everything going on, and also in my head it was like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen.
And we'll have all the sport with Lewis too. What have you got for us tonight, Lewis?
Well, Laura, we'll be looking back at Open golfer Robert McIntyre's stunning performance at the US Open and discuss his chances of winning a first major.
And some might say Oasis fans are rowdy and middle-aged. Well, that's how one council's described them. Hi, I'm Laura McKeever. Welcome to the news at 7. Now, a landfill ban comes into force in Scotland at the end of this year, meaning our black bin rubbish can no longer be buried in the ground. But BBC Scotland's Disclosure has been told that because there aren't enough incinerators here yet, truckloads of household and commercial waste will be sent to landfills in England every day instead. Our environment correspondent Kevin Keane heard more from some waste management experts.
We're still sending some of our household waste to landfill, but by the end of this year it'll have to find a new home. And the trouble is, in Scotland, there are very few options.
At the moment, it's estimated there's between 600,000 and 700,000 tonnes of waste that has not got a home, so it's not got any incineration capacity. So if the ban comes in at the end of the year, that material will either need to be exported or it'll need to go south of the border.
Transporting Scotland's surplus 600,000 tonnes of trash will require an awful lot of trucking.
You're looking at the equivalent of between 80 and 100 trucks minimum running 7 days a week to take this material to a facility in England.
Well, Scottish ministers say any export of waste should only be viewed as a short-term solution, and they want to stop traditional black bag waste being buried in the ground by increasing recycling rates and using more energy from waste incinerators. Earlier, I spoke to Kim Pratt from Friends of the Earth Scotland.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've known about this problem for a long time, and so has the Scottish Government. So 3 years ago, an independent review was conducted for the Scottish Government that showed that Scotland would have overcapacity for incineration by 2027 if it didn't change its policies around the landfill ban and around incineration as well. So we've known that this problem was going to be in the pipeline for a long time.
It very much is moving a problem elsewhere, isn't it? I mean, what are your thoughts about a solution for this? Do you accept, first of all, that Scotland will have the need for some form of incineration if a landfill ban's coming into play?
It's a huge missed opportunity, to be honest. The Scottish Government could have been investing in reuse and recycling instead of thinking about landfill and incineration and creating policies that shift our waste from landfill to burning it instead, both of which are really bad for the environment. We could have been doing what Wales are doing, for example, where they focused much more on recycling and really seen a huge amount of success. They're one of the top recyclers in the world, and Scotland has not invested in the same way, has not created the same policies, and that's why we're in the mess that we are today.
Is it just a case of investment then? Because Wales is often held up as such a good example of having such high recycling rates. What are they doing that we're not?
It's a combination of lack of investment from the Scottish Government and also a lack of firm policy making. So we've seen the Scottish Government create this landfill ban, but really that's only solving half of the problem because we've seen this shift towards sending waste to incineration instead, which is also bad for the environment. Instead, what we need to see is the Scottish Government incentivising councils to recycle more of their waste instead. And that's why Scotland, because the Scottish Government hasn't done that, we've been left in a situation where our recycling rates have stagnated for over a decade in Scotland.
Do you accept, though, that we'll need a level of waste management, that we're never going to be able to be completely recyclable?
Yeah, so we do need to be sensible about how we manage our different wastes, and at the moment, we're not taking the right approach to that. So we definitely shouldn't be sending biodegradable waste to landfill, because that generates methane emissions, which is bad for the planet. But equally, we shouldn't be sending things like plastic to incineration, because plastic is made of fossil fuels, and when we burn that contributes to the climate crisis. It also creates other pollution, and it stops us recycling as well. So we need to be smarter about how we are managing our different types of waste.
OK, Kim Pratt of Friends of the Earth Scotland, thank you very much for your time on tonight's News at 7.
Thank you very much.
And you can watch Disclosure, Where Will All My Rubbish Go? Tonight, it's on BBC One Scotland at 8:30, and you can also catch it on BBC iPlayer. Thank you for joining us on tonight's News at 7. More to come in the programme, including work begins to install a new track ahead of the Glasgow Commonwealth Games.
Well, it's going to warm up as the week progresses, and there'll be lots of sunshine. Join me at the end of the programme for more detail.
Now, the basic right to education is not being met for too many pupils who spent time in care. That's the conclusion of a report by Who Cares Scotland, which says children who are or have been in care are overrepresented when it comes to things like school exclusions. It also found those on part-time timetables are, in some cases, receiving as little as 30 minutes education per week. Louise Hunter is the charity's chair, and she told us more about what they found.
So with this report, we found that exclusion is disproportionately happening to care experienced people compared to their non-care experienced peers. In fact, children and young people who are care experienced are up to 6 times more likely to be formally excluded from school. Therefore, they are completely not receiving that right to education that they're entitled to. We've also found that exclusion is also being masked as something different, something which absolutely looks and feels like an exclusion, but is being entitled support, where care experienced children and young people can be removed from classrooms and find themselves spending time with support staff in smaller rooms, but not necessarily getting any educational input whatsoever. And we also find that support provision across Scotland is very patchy, to say the least, for care experienced children at school.
Well, 16-year-old Honey knows firsthand what it's like to go through this. She went into foster care 4 years ago and missed out on a lot of school, but she says she's now getting the right supports and got to sit her 4th year exams.
I missed out quite a lot of S1, S2 and S3. Like the S3 exams that you get, I missed them because I was quite anxious going into school just because of everything going on. And also in my head, it was like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And then now that I'm in school, I'm like, why was I even worrying about that? I think just trying to understand like where a kid is coming from, because obviously you will get the odd kid where it's just like, I don't want to go in, but you need to like try and understand how they're feeling and how you could help them. And also I think students could also like learn from them as well, because quite a lot of like foster kids, we're not acting out because we just think we need to act out and we feel the need to act out. Most of the time we're acting out because we don't feel listened to, or we feel that we're being judged, when we just really need a really understanding environment, which I have, because the teachers have done absolutely everything to get me into school. And I think every kid deserves that, a support in school, and students that aren't so quick to judge them.
Well, the Scottish Government is currently implementing a plan called the Promise Scotland. It aims to make sure all children grow up loved and respected. Earlier I spoke to Nicola Killeen, the Children and Young People's Commissioner for Scotland, and I asked her why she commissioned this report.
Well, children and young people have been clear with me as Commissioner that they want me to make education a top priority. They're telling me that a lot more has to change and improve for all of them to be able to enjoy all of their rights. But there was also a gap in available public information on the experiences of care experienced children and young people within education. So it was really, really important for us to be able to fill that gap to ensure that what's happening for them and with them is actually part of shaping any recommendations for change, and that's why I commissioned Who Cares Scotland to lead on that piece of work.
What was your reaction to reading it yourself then and hearing this report yourself?
It was really clear that there's a lack of consistency, of ability for care experienced children and young people to get the supports that they need within our education services across Scotland. There are examples of good practice. There is flexible, compassionate, good practice out there, but it's still not being consistently applied. And I'm very concerned about the use of part-time timetables and informal exclusion, and that care experienced children and young people are saying that that's often being applied in ways that they don't want, that it's not supporting them. And there were examples in there of some children who were saying they were getting 30 minutes a week of education that was offered to them, and that was not what they wanted, and it was not in their best interests.
Now, the Scottish Government has talked about keep the promise, about ensuring that care experienced children and young people are getting the support they need. What does that promise mean to you, and is it being fulfilled, or at least worked towards being fulfilled?
Well, this will, if Scottish Government keeps the promise, it will mean that every care experienced child and young person will be able to have all of their rights fulfilled. They'll be able to get the supports and services that they need at the right time. And that's why this report is a clear call for more action within education, because it's clear that the government can do more and should do more to monitor what's happening. And I published my own report a couple of months ago that called on Scottish Government as well to say actually there is more support that's needed across the education system. That support may be broad, it may be different for each child, but Scottish Government has to lead on that work and understand what support is required at the right time to ensure that children get that as early as possible.
Just finally, these are young people, children who are already vulnerable, who have already gone through so much of life's challenges. What are the consequences if this can't be improved, if we don't get this right?
So Scotland can't get this wrong. This is a clear wake-up call. And again, in the report, there are examples of children and young people who are getting the responses that they need. When they get it right, whenever the services are put in place, we see children and young people able to engage within their education and have really positive outcomes. But every care experienced child and young people has the entitlement to that, has the right to that, and Scotland must deliver on that. And this is a real wake-up call for Scottish Government and education authorities to do more now.
Nicola, thank you very much indeed for coming in and talking to us today. Really interesting to hear from you.
Thank you.
Now, the First Minister, John Swinney, said today that pensioners here in Scotland will not get less than people living south of the border when it comes to winter fuel payments. Last week, the UK Government announced changes which meant pensioners with an income of less than £35,000 would get at least £200. Earlier this year, the Scottish Government said everyone here would get at least £100. Well, speaking today, John Swinney had this to say.
I'm very happy to confirm today that no pensioner in Scotland will receive less than they would under the new UK scheme. Details will be set out in due course by my government, but the Scottish Government will always seek to do what is best for Scotland's pensioners.
And we will bring you those details when they're announced. Time now to get a look at the roundup of the stories making the BBC News app in Scotland. A human leg has been found washed up on a South Ayrshire beach. The dismembered limb was discovered on the shore at Prestwick last week. Police say investigations are continuing. A search for a person who fell overboard from a ferry in the Firth of Clyde has been called off. An operation was held between Dunoon and Gourock yesterday afternoon. Dumfries and Galloway Council is to meet to consider a no-confidence motion in its Conservative leadership. It comes after 7 councillors left the Conservative group to form 2 separate groups. The famous sugar boat shipwreck between Helensburgh and Greenock is nearing a watery end, according to local experts. Harsh weather conditions throughout the winter has accelerated the vessel's decline. And Aberdeen will be turned into a party city when it hosts the Tall Ships races later this year, according to the organisers. Thousands are expected to attend the 4-day event in July. More on all of these stories, and you can scan the QR code there for you in the screen now. It will take you to the BBC Scotland News app, where there is more, including a row over the Union flag at one primary school. Now, work's begun to lay a new track at Scotstoun Stadium as it prepares to host the athletics during next year's Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. Our sports news correspondent Chris McLaughlin spoke to the chief executive of the Games, Phil Batty.
So Phil, almost a year to go. Here we are at what is going to be the main athletics venue. Are we getting there?
Yeah, things are really coming together. I think when you get to 1 year to go, you just get a sense of all the pieces falling into line.
Yeah.
And being here today to talk about the new investment in the athletics track is definitely one of those key milestones.
How can you convince people that this is going to be something special here? Because at the moment, clearly there's a lot of work to be done.
I think first and foremost there's a huge athletics community that love this venue, and it's always really important to root it in the sport, and I think the investment that we're making will be absolutely a long-term investment in the athletics community. But there's something special about athletics, the way the temporary stands come in, the way the audience and spectators all arrive. You know, it's going to be electric, and this is going to be one of those key tickets you want to get for next summer.
Yeah. And this is one you clearly have to get right, because this is the focal point, isn't it?
I mean, athletics sets the tone. It's one of those hero events as part of an amazing competition of 10 sports and 6 parasports. But there's so much going on an athletics competition. So I think getting this right is really, really key.
The clock's ticking though, isn't it?
402 days to go, not a day to lose, but I think there's a real sense of calm. There's amazing partners, there's amazing suppliers, there's a great team coming together. We're working with the likes of Glasgow Life, who run the venue here. It's all about teamwork really, and partnership working.
So a lot of work, but not a lot of money.
A lot of work and a sensible budget.
Yeah.
I think we've seen that the major events landscape internationally has got slightly out of hand, and actually what Glasgow is doing is resetting the dial, not just for a Commonwealth Games, but for other major global sporting events.
Yeah. So there's 4 sites in total, right, for the Games. How are you getting on with the rest? Are they all 3?
There are 4 flagship venues, so the SEC's really coming together. Lots of planning work there about how we use the different halls, how we use the armadillo, how we use the hydro. There's things already happening at Tollcross to get ready for the swimming, and then there's amazing things going on at the arena and the velodrome. So it feels like a really close-knit campus that's going to be, electrified by sport next summer.
When do you think, Phil, the people of Glasgow will start to notice that something's coming?
We're on the horizon of 1 year to go, so I think 1 year to go really brings it into sharp focus, starts people thinking about what they're going to do next summer, what do they want to go see. We'll start releasing a lot more information about daily competition schedule, tickets will go on sale next summer, there's a new mascot on the horizons. So yeah, I think over the course of the next couple of months, people will start bringing it into sharp focus.
Games Chief Executive Phil Batty there talking to Chris McLaughlin. Right, still to come, we've got the weather with Judith, and we discuss how rowdy Oasis fans are ahead of the Murrayfield gigs. But first, let's get the sport now with Lewis.
And I wish I was rowdy, Laura, but unfortunately it was a near miss for Bob McIntyre at the weekend. Hello there. Yes, what a weekend of golf at the US Open. It had a bit of everything really, from rain delays to hole-in-ones. But that one missing piece for Scotland's Robert McIntyre was the trophy itself. The golfer from Oban finished second to America's JJ Spaun, narrowly missing out on his first major win. Earlier I spoke to Michael McEwen from Bunker to analyse the brilliance from Bob and what comes next.
Bob did us proud today, to be completely honest. Yeah, okay, he didn't end up with the trophy come the end of it, but he gave it his absolute best shot. He played, for me, the best golf of any golfer in the field over the weekend. 69, 68.
Treacherous. And he ultimately loses it to some moments of magic from JJ Spaun.
Well, that's the thing. Like you say, Lewis, I mean, it wasn't really so much a case that Bob lost the championship to go out and do it. And he should take a lot of confidence from that. He should also look to the way that he played over the course of the week. He went in with a game plan. He was very clear, and it was a simple game plan, which was hit fairways. He didn't make it any more complicated than that. He just wanted to keep the ball in play off the tee and go from there. It was a really mature performance, and I was really particularly impressed by just how patient and present he was throughout. Sometimes I felt like Bob can be his own harshest critic, and sometimes he's too harsh on himself, in my opinion. But he really stayed very patient, didn't get too upset when things went against him, which other players did. And yeah, he really impressed me,
And of course, it led to a second place finish, his best finish at a major since Portrush. And where is the Open next month, Portrush? You said the stars could be aligning in that sense. Could it be as soon as next month at Portrush?
I'm a firm believer that momentum is a huge thing in sport, and particularly in this sport. Consider the fact that JJ Spawn had a really significant disappointment earlier this year when he lost the Players' Championship in a Monday finish playoff at that, to Rory McIlroy. He's used that as a springboard to now go on to bigger and better things. I think Bob is exactly the same type of personality, in so much as he'll take the positives rather than the negatives from this. I think he'll wake up and he'll feel delighted rather than disappointed. Of course, there'll be some disappointment, but he'll be happier, I think, on balance with how the week went than unhappy. He'll use that, I'm quite sure, as a launchpad now to come back to Scotland, where we know he's happiest. He's got his title defence at the Scottish Open. And to your point, he goes to Royal Portrush, a golf course that he likes, but also a championship venue with which he's familiar and knows he's played some great stuff on. Could he be walking away with the claret jug? First time in a long time we have a male Scottish golfer to get really excited about. And I think we're just at the beginning of something special.
Michael McEwen from Bunkered talking to me there. Now, it's the grass court season in tennis, and it's on the lawns of Queen's Club that Cameron Norrie and Jacob Fernley have been plying their trade in their first round matches. Norrie lost by 2-1 against the Czech 19-year-old Jakub Menchik. But it's been a much better day for Edinburgh's Fernley, who beat the Australian qualifier Alex Bolt in straight sets by 6-2 and 6-4. And don't forget to visit the BBC Sports Scotland website for more. You can read about shooter Shona McIntosh's decision to aim for a third Olympic Games and see how our cricketers are faring in their T20 Tri-Series. So yeah, not wishing time away too much, Laura, but I cannot wait for Portrush already, and I really hope McIntyre can go one better and finally get that major at Pierre.
I know he's got momentum now, hasn't he?
He does, exactly, and we all believe in him.
Totally. Are you ready to put your bucket hat on?
Oh, go for it, Laura,
okay,
yes.
It's time, Lewis. Because the lead singer of Oasis, Liam Gallagher, has hit out at Edinburgh City Council after fans of the band were described in a safety briefing as rowdy, intoxicated, middle-aged men who take up more room. Well, the comments were made when local authority officials, police and others met to plan for the Oasis shows at Murrayfield in August. In response, Liam Gallagher said the council's attitude stinks. Well, I've been speaking to Martin Reid, who's from the tribute band Definitely Oasis, and I asked him what he thought.
I think, if I'm being honest, I think it was maybe a wee bit short-sighted, a wee bit, narrow-minded of the council. And good on Liam for sort of sticking up for the Scottish crowd, absolutely. In our experience, the age range is so different. We've got kids coming to see us, young teenagers all the way through. So the idea that they think it's just going to be sort of middle-aged, drunken. I don't want to mention about the weight thing that they were trying to imply, but it's definitely not like that at all.
Not that case.
Yeah, it's a real mix of people. So. And there's certainly never any trouble or any bother at our gigs. It's all just light-hearted, good fun.
Yeah, because they talked about middle-aged men particularly taking up space, because they were talking about, risk assessments for pub numbers and things.
Yeah, and fitness is such a big thing at the moment. A lot of middle-aged guys are sort of, fitter than what they used to be, and also it'd be interesting to see how fit these guys in the council are, or the people in the council are. Are they as fit as they were in the 90s? It'd be interesting to see.
And of course, Liam wasn't going to stay quiet about this, was he? Were you surprised how it didn't take him long to come back and have a comment about this?
No, you can always count on Liam to sort of come back with something. He'll definitely have a rebuttal for something that's juicy. He likes to get in comments that are controversial. He's not afraid to speak his mind.
How are you feeling generally about the resurgence then? And has this all been good for you as a tribute act? With this Oasis tour coming up, has it re-sparked interest in the band?
I would say, if I'm being honest, the interest has always been there for the band. I mean, the gigs are busy week in, week out. I think what I would say is maybe in terms of the geography of it. We've had interviews, in Europe, in America, and Canada. This year alone, we've had gigs in Denmark, France. We're going to Greece. We've got things booked up, hopefully next year for Australia. So I think certainly the reunion has played a part in expanding, you know, the interest in the band in terms of where we play.
And a wide range of fans as well for you.
Oh, a massive range. I mean, like I said, we'll do over 14s gigs where you've literally, you know that you've got 14-year-olds right up to 40-year-olds, older than that, you know. And it tends to be the younger guys are the ones that are down the barrier. They're the ones that are singing the songs, and it's not even just the big singles. It could be sort of slightly more obscure B-sides from, like, you know, the first album or something, and they're right up there. They're so passionate about it.
And are you going to get along to any of these Oasis gigs yourself?
Well, we are actually going to be busy playing right next door. We're actually putting on gigs in Murrayfield Ice Rink Arena, which is literally right next door to Murrayfield itself. So on the same nights that Oasis are playing, we're going to be playing right next door.
A 90s renaissance. Martin Noel, lovely to see you.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And enjoy it all this summer.
We will do, thank you.
And I'm sure we will have plenty more Oasis news when they are performing at Murrayfield in August. Right, it's time to get the weather forecast now. Judith's here.
Good evening to you. Well, it was a beautiful day across southwest Scotland. As you can see, the blue skies there behind me. But there is a change on the way as we head through the new working week. High pressure will gradually build in, but first of all, this weather front tonight will bring some rain. Once that clears away, we start to see pressure building from the southwest, slap bang across us come the middle of the week, and there are signs of some warmer temperatures too. This wee fly in the ointment bringing some showery rain over the northwest, maybe on Thursday. But as far as this evening is concerned, a lot of dry weather, some late sunshine for the south and east. Then our weather front gathering in the west, bringing some outbreaks of rain and into the north as well. As that front sinks southwards, it does lose its energy, but it will be accompanied by strengthening southwesterly winds. And during the wee small hours, we'll see those winds touching gale force as they veer into the west, over the northwest, and indeed over the Northern Isles as well. And it will be a mild night with all this going on. Quite a windy, cloudy, damp start to the day. Some rain for the south, but very quickly all that cloud and rain does pull away, and it brightens up nicely from the north with sunny spells developing as well, and the winds start to ease down too. Now, come the afternoon, generally a lot of dry weather with spells of sunshine for the Northern Isles. Still quite a keen south-westerly wind here. Now, westerly breeze bringing some showers in across the country, but we could still see 20 Celsius in the sunshine across eastern Scotland. Fewer showers here, and actually any showers we do see will tend to be over higher ground, just maybe the remnants of that front lying across the border area. But lots of dry, bright weather for the southwest and towards the Inner Hebrides as well. Still a few showers in the flow coming in across western Scotland and the Western Isles, but still we'll see some brighter sunny spells in between, but quite a fresh feel through these areas as well. Tomorrow evening, showers tend to ease and dry with some late sunshine. Then overnight we'll see some thicker cloud and some showers moving into the northwest. But all this aside, Wednesday looks like being a fine dry day with spells of sunshine, and temperatures are set to reach around about 18 or 19 Celsius. That's your forecast.
We're back here tomorrow night at 7. Lucy White is here, but from me and all the team, good night. Bye-bye.